Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite from December the 9th, 2020. All right, we'll start the show directly with the Young Bucks versus the Hybrid 2. There was like 8 450 splashes in this match. In this match alone, there was like 42 450 splashes. I don't know how many times I looked up and I saw dudes twirling in the air. I legit thought I was watching O from Cirque du Soleil. I was like, these guys are just all over the place. Um, but what else could I expect? There were some things, I guess, that happened that's worth talking about. The Young Bucks are oddly enough happy that Kenny Omega is the champion. They said they haven't talked to him. You would think that the EVPs of the company would be upset that their title got taken. Like, wouldn't you be like, well, that sucks. Like, when we won the tag team titles, we didn't just think to skip out and go back to New Japan or anything. Why would he do that? You know, like, we put blood, sweat, and tears into this company. Why would he disrespect the company like that? They were just kind of like, oh, well, no one's happier than us. Kenny is our best friend. And that was it on the subject of Kenny Omega. And they haven't talked to him. I was like, that's weird. That's really weird. Shouldn't Cody be upset too? Why is nobody mad? You know, like, if somebody's like, when these things kind of happen, you would think everybody would be in an uproar. You know, all the people who wanted to be the champion, you know, the EVPs, not just Tony Khan, but everybody's just taking such a lackadaisical approach to this supposed heist of the century. Whatever. The Young Bucks beat the Hybrid too because he did all the flippity doos. There was a power bomb, I think it was of Jack Evans, into the crowd on top of those rapper dudes. The rapper dudes came back later to try to jump the Young Bucks, but SCU saved them. So there was a lot of double team moves, a lot of flips in this match. I've already said that. The next thing was MJF had a promo. He said that he has, Orange Cassidy is mocking the business, and he's going to upset a lot of the smart marks by bashing, or the not so smart marks, by bashing OC's head in, and he promised to hurt him and enjoy it. And I don't like when guys wink at the camera, like the whole smart mark, wink, wink. I'm not a fan of that. It's really weird. I wish people would stop doing stuff like that. Like, we get it. It's like, if you're on a play, you don't have to keep saying, like, you said that because it's your line to say that. It's kind of like you're not smart. You're just, showing me that it's bullshit. Anyway, the Darby Allin had a vignette. This one actually made sense. They did a Rorschach test. A Rorschach test is the ink blots. They post some ink blots and you tell them what you think. It's supposed to look at your perspective, where your mind is. So he got showed a shadow of Ricky Starks, and he said he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, which makes sense because Ricky Starks looks, like I say, he looks like a sissy, but he's really probably the most intense person in the group as far as being able to have a range of emotions. Hobbs seems to be kind of stale faced, and Cage is, who knows, but Ricky Starks is the one capable of, seem to be the most dynamic of the performers, where he could be, cool. He could also be intense. He can also be, angry. So I can see that. So then when he says Hobbs, they showed him a picture of an outline of Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs, Will Hobbs, as Taz calls him. And Darby said he's a snake in the grass, which of course makes sense because Hobbs was a traitor. And when he showed an outline of generic muscle man, Brian Cage, Darby Allin was like, he's a puppet. And then he continued saying that he's also the number one contender, and because he tried to end his career. He said, you might think this was 6 months in the making, but it's really 27 years in the making. I've been dealing with guys like this my whole life, beating me up, treating me like shit. I was like, oh boy. Do we need all of your neurosis? But then again, it was set up in a psychological thing, so it made sense for him to get all neurotic on you. Then he got shown an ink blot of Sting, and he just laughed. They got this weird thing that they're doing with him and Sting. I have no idea, but we'll see. So we get Cody doing Cody things, getting an elaborate interest, just stand in the ring. Tony Schiavone is in the ring. He asks Cody, what did Cody think of Sting? So then here comes Sting, and we have snow. And I'm thinking, like, is it going to snow every time Sting comes out there? Because they're going to have to clean that snow up. Well, they taped it. I mean, they had to clean the snow up, and then they just let the snow go out again. Whatever. So Arn excused himself to leave the ring for Cody and Sting. Then Tony Schiavone was going to do the same thing. He was going to leave the ring, and Sting was like, no, Tony, my old friend. He gave him a hug, asked him to say, it's Sting, and he did. Everybody got a pop out of that. Cody welcomed Sting. He was being a heel from the jump. Cody was leaning in very suspiciously, speaking very deeply, very focused. I've been waiting for a long time to share a ring with you. And Cody said Sting said he's not here for Cody, at least not yet. You know, he talked about how it all felt familiar. I don't know what, because it's WCW. That's why it feels so familiar. And he started pointing up there and he says, it all feels very familiar, you know, and he's pointing to Darby Allin, who is sitting up in the, what do you call it? The balcony section? I was about to call it the mezzanine, but I don't know if that's the right words for it. And he's sitting there staring, you know, being cryptic, you know, because he's spooky boy. So Sting and Cody start going back and forth, and, you know, not too much. Basically, Sting is talking. He's not saying anything. Sting didn't say shit in this entire thing. But it seems like Cody is trying to edge him towards something. But basically all Sting did was say, oh, I'm going to be here for a long time. I got a long time contract. I'm going to be here with the fans for a long time. I'm going to be around a long time. He put his arms around Cody, you know, and said, I'll see you around, kid. And Cody was kind of burnt up about this. You know, he was kind of tight-jawed. And I said to myself, this was a fucking waste. He literally didn't say anything. He literally did not say anything. What was the content of Sting's promo? Asked Tony Schiavone to say, it's Sting! Said everything feels familiar. I feel, you know, it's been a long time since I've been on Turner. I'm going to be here for a long time. I'm not here to deal with you, Cody. He didn't start a feud with anybody. He didn't spark up any heat with anybody. The only thing he did was kind of waif off any heat that Cody might have been given. He's just kind of like, man, who cares? I'm just like, he literally showed up to do nothing. Of course, we got more of this showing up to do nothing when Shaq showed up. But we'll get there. We'll get to that. So then Taz comes out. He's still whining. He's got a persecution complex. So Taz says that, you know, they were beating the hell out of Cody and Darby, and then Tony Khan paid Sting to save his Golden Boys. And then, you know, Ricky Starks cuts in and talks about how Hook is now training with Team Taz. And I say to myself, look, let's talk about this for a minute. When Cody started this whole ordeal with Jade Cargill and all that stuff, he wanted to fight MJF. MJF doesn't seem to care that Cody wanted to fight him. And it was never brought up again. Then Shaq went nobody talked about Shaq for 2 or 3 weeks. Now Sting is there, and Cody is focused on Sting. Now you got Team Taz talking about Cody. Cody ain't thinking about them. Cody doesn't care about these people. Cody is apparently trying to fight Sting now. And apparently he's forgotten that he wanted to fight MJF. It's like you just had so much going on. And it has to be these constant surprises, this constant stacking things on top of each other. And Cody has to get the rub again and again and again. It's like if you would have spaced this shit out, you know, took your time, it would have made a little bit more sense. Because I wanted to know, like, of course, there was enough steam there between Cody and MJF to go back to that feud. You know, there was still some stuff there. But then you had Jade Cargill come out there. We'll talk about her later. But then you've got Sting. And Cody has, I don't know, a problem with Sting. or he has some beef with Sting, or maybe he's just trying to get the rub from Sting, and who knows? But it got fuck all to do with MJF, who he said he wanted to fight, and it's got fuck all to do with Shaq. So, what does any whatever? And it has nothing to do with Team Taz, other than Team Taz was out there while we was getting beaten up, but he didn't say, whatever. Anyway, Team Taz says Hook is with them now, and I was thinking to myself, that's a good way to blow off that feud. Instead of just having this deep psychological, we could have got to know Hook. He could have cut some promos like, Dad, look, it's not personal. It's just business. I just want, Cody asked to work out. I worked out. It could have just been a couple of weeks where you getting to know Hook. You just looking at him just a kid. I don't know how old he is, but you could have just played it up with him just being a kid, and he's interested in wrestling. And, Cody was the first person to really take any interest in him. So that's kind of where he started to go. And Taz was like, no, you coming with me. You're coming with me. And he's like, I don't want to, or something where you could have just told that story. Instead, we were told about Hook in one promo. Then immediately we're told that he was with Cody. And then they immediately just said, okay, now he's with Taz. Where he should have been in the first place. Who cares? Nothing matters. This is Nothing Matters, the TV show. So then we get the second match, which was the Varsity Blondes, who is Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison versus FTR. Okay, look, now I understand that Brian Pillman Jr. is probably still under contract to MLW. Unless, I'm actually pretty sure he is. I know he tried to get free, and they was like, nope. But you surely can have something better for him than this. The Varsity Blondes. What does that even mean? What is this? Other than just a play on his dad being a Hollywood blonde with Steve Austin, what is this? You mean to tell me that, look, I'm not saying that Brian Pillman Jr. is some main event talent, but he's got some talent. I've been watching him. He's not bad. He's actually pretty good. Especially as a babyface, he's actually pretty good. And this is what you do? You stick him with Griff Garrison, the most generic looking motherfucker on the face of the planet, and you make them a tag team? I don't know, man. It's sad. It's sad. Of course, FTR wins, but the matches went way too long. Because Varsity Blondes, they made their first appearance on Dynamite, and I'd never seen them before. And, of course, they weren't going to beat FTR. I mean, come on. So then we get to Hangman Page. Apparently, Hangman Page, for some reason, has been thrust into a 6-man tag against Private Party and Matt Hardy. Now, here's the thing. Matt Hardy is apparently turning heel. Does this mean Private Party are turning heel too? Because... Matt Hardy's doing this, I'm an icon. And, he's being very full of himself and all that type of stuff. Private Party has not had any interaction with Matt since he started doing this. So maybe we're going to start seeing in that match, they're going to start healing it up. Or maybe it's just going to be Matt healing it up and then Private Party going to have that schism with him. That could be interesting. I'm actually looking forward to that. To that story point. What I'm not looking forward to is Hangman Page being talked into teaming with the fucking Dark Order, who showed up in tiny cowboy hats. And remember when Hangman Page was supposed to be like the franchise? Like that's really who they were before Miro came and Matt Hardy came, and you had all these extra signings. Ricky Starks and Brian Cage and Lance Archer. And all these guys, right? They kept really talking about how Jungle Boy was going to be the future, and Darby Allin was going to be the future, and Hangman Page is going to be the future. And look what they're doing to Hangman Page. Now, a lot of people are going to tell me, Mongo, long form storytelling, they're going to double back to Hangman Page wrestling Kenny Omega for the title. He's going to kick out of the One-Winged Angel. Everybody's going to love it. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to make him a star. And I say to myself, What the fuck does that have to do with him being mixed up with the Dark Order right now? Why can't he be doing something important right now instead of being mixed up with the Dark Order? You might as well send the guy fucking home. Send him home for 6 months if that's what you're gonna do. It doesn't make any sense. Like, and then the whole thing is long form storytelling. I get it, but how long is this story gonna be? Because if you're talking about Kenny Omega going around the world collecting world titles, that's gonna take a while, at least a year. So what are you gonna do for this guy for a year? And then the whole idea was we're gonna focus on the young people. Okay, they get older. You know, like every year they get older. So it's like they're not really the young guys anymore because they're going to be younger guys coming in. You know, so you got to do. You can't do this. You just can't have this guy fucking around with the Dark Order for who knows how long. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. You know, it's stupid. And even if he did join the Dark Order, it'd still be stupid. It just doesn't make any sense. And who cares about his upcoming feud with Brody Lee? Brody Lee's been off TV for months now. At least a month. Hangman Page was supposed to be the guy. They put Hangman Page in there with Chris Jericho. On their, what was it, first pay-per-view, second? Why they decided to just basically tie an anchor around this guy's ankle, I have no idea. Like I said, I don't really care for Hangman Page. I don't think he's like the best worker of the group or anything like that. I just find it odd that a lot of the people that they were saying was going to be the future, the only one that's really getting pushed is Darby. And that's really just started. You know, for a long time, they just had Darby getting fucked over, getting powerbombed outside the ring in a body bag and all type of weird stuff. You know, I guess MJF, because MJF's push has been steady. But, you know, they kind of upped and downed on Orange Cassidy. They upped and down on pretty much everybody. Lance Archer, Brian Cage. You know, they've upped and down on everybody. I mean, it happens. It's the wrestling business. You can't win them all, kid. Unless you're Cody. Then even if you lose, you still get your own 15, 20-minute segment every week. In the exact same spots every week. Anyway, that was stupid. Then we get more Dark Order. So we get Dark Order acting dumb, wearing cowboy hats. And then the next, we're supposed to take them seriously as they're serious wrestlers as 10. A member of the Dark Order wrestle. Well, they call him the Natural. Our boy Dustin Rhodes. I love Dustin. I really do. I have zero interest in whatever they're about to try to do with him, no. Now, he beat this Dark Order dude with a bulldog. I like how Dustin is mixing Gold Dust and the Natural at the same time. I really enjoy that. It's very smooth. Where he's going by the Natural. He's using the bulldog, which is his original finish. But he's got his face painted one half like Gold Dust. I like that he's sort of melding those worlds. So after he wins this match, Evil Uno says, "Oh, we don't have any problem with you. We would like to offer you to be number 7 in the Dark Order." And of course, this makes the smart marks giggle because they know that he was 7. I believe WCW. I believe he was 7 in WCW. And this, of course, makes all of them giggle. And I'm just like, whatever. I guess it was clever, you know. But when you have all these people, you have too many recruitment angles going on at one time. Because you got more than one recruitment angle going. And the Dark Order sucks. You know, like there's no good reason for anybody to join the Dark Order. You know, like if you're going to have, you know, let's take it back to the Hurt Business, right? Like when they wanted Cedric Alexander to join the Hurt Business. They also wanted Ricochet, Mustafa Ali to join the Hurt Business. They at least showed that the Hurt Business were winners. You know, like they won fights, they won matches, and you were a loser. So, you know, join us, and you might actually start winning. That you can't even say that for the Dark Order. They tried that with Colt Cabana, like stop losing, join the Dark Order, and then they did nothing but lose. Now Dark Order does almost nothing but lose. So what is the enticement for anybody to join the Dark Order? Join the Dark Order for what? What is the benefits of being in the Dark Order? There are none. So why the fuck would anybody ever want to join? That's a little That's a little storyline piece for you. If you're going to have a recruitment angle, there needs to be a benefit. What benefit is there to joining this group? To being a part of this organization, what is the benefit? They didn't think that far ahead because nobody has ever told. Colt Cabana was on a loser streak. The Dark Order were still losers, so it didn't make sense then either. So we get the Shaq segment that we were promised. The Shaq segment, and he's sitting across from Brandy. And Shaq is absolutely massive in this chair. He's sitting in this chair, and this chair is meh. This chair is small in comparison to this fully grown adult man. And Shaq, sometimes, I don't know, maybe it's a, I think his lips are heavy because I had to turn the TV up and rewind a bunch of times to even hear what he said. So he talked about how he was a fan of Jade Cargill and that they go way back, even though he didn't sound too enthused about her at all. But he said, I didn't appreciate what she did to Brandy's arm though, like kind of like a slight apology. And Brandy was like, I didn't appreciate it either, and I didn't deserve this. But when you come into my house talking to my family like this, blah blah blah, that's what you're gonna get. And then she says, Shaq says, I want to see you and Jade in a match, handle your beef. I really like to see that. I will be there for that. And then, Brandy gets up to walk away. And then Shaq says something to the effect of, or at least I'm sure he said, that while your arm is in a sling, you should watch Jade and pick up some pointers or something like that. So then Brandy says that Shaq is disrespecting her, called him an overgrown asshole, and threw like Pepsi in his face or something. And I just sat there to myself thinking, what the fuck? What the fuck? We brought Shaq in to do the job to Brandy? That's what we brought Shaq in here to do? To get Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, whatever the fuck it was, thrown in his face by Brandy? I guess it's better than taking a bump. But I don't see, because Cody doesn't care about this and hasn't talked about it, and we haven't gone back to it with Cody because Sting came and all of a sudden Cody's like a baby. Like, if you dangle something in front of him and that's where his head goes, like he can't have multiple perspectives. So it's like, ooh, MJF, ooh, Cody, ooh, Sting, ooh, new thing, And because of that, this kind of loses all weight, and it basically just becomes Brandy versus Jade Cargill. So we brought Shaq in just for a women's feud. He's not going to actually wrestle Cody, which is what everybody thought. He's just going to be standing outside the ring, probably. Much like Mike Tyson was. Watching Brandy versus Jade Cargill whenever they set this match up. You know what? Okay. I don't want to see Shaq wrestle anyway, so I'm cool. Okay? All right. But there's only so many times you can keep pulling this off. If Shaq, yawns or some shit, it'll kill the whole gimmick. But I didn't care about this, man. You can't make me care about a Brandy match. And then Jade Cargill has never had a match before, so I don't know what I'm getting with her. And I've seen Brandy wrestle. She's not good. This is at best the blind leading the blind. Okay? If Brandy was fucking Bret Hart or somebody like that, I wouldn't be too concerned. But Brandy is Brandy. So likely somebody is going to get their legs broken getting in the ring on this match. Whatever. They can do whatever they want, man. Tony Khan is paying for this shit. I'm not paying for it, so I don't care. So we get the Inner Circle Ultimatum, which was silly shit incarnate. It was dumb. Jericho wanted everybody to make sure that they got along, and Santana wasn't there. Maybe this would be AEW sometimes does things with details, and maybe it's going to be everybody agreed to get along except Santana because he wasn't there. So he's going to say, oh, no, fuck this. I'm not doing any of this stuff because I never agreed to it. But probably not. Anyway, the guys were angry at each other. Ortiz was mad, and you know, MJF said he loves them all like brothers. You know, basically blowing smoke up their ass. And Ortiz said, "Okay, you're growing on me. You're growing on me like a fungus, but you're growing on me." He asked Sammy Guevara to shake his hand. Now, this was a good thing for Sammy Guevara because he says that, you know, him and MJF have been bickering. Jericho told him to shut up. And, you know, so he says, Ortiz says, shake his hand because you're the better man and you know it. And he said, I'll shake his hand because I trust Chris. This is Sammy Guevara says. He trusts Chris Jericho, so he's going to shake his hand. But if MJF has any more, you know, foolishness, any more bullshit, you know, he's going to quit the Inner Circle. And he told Jericho to his face, any more bullshit from MJF, I'm quitting. Then he shook MJF's hand. And then, you know, everybody thought that it was going to be cool, and then the real funny stuff happened. Then Jake Hager and Wardlow start yelling at each other about who is staring at who, how long they have been staring at one another. And Jericho said, can we all just stop staring? And then Jake Hager says, I could stop staring right now if I wanted to. I was like, okay, this segment is fucking stupid. It was a waste of time because it was almost exactly what I expected it to be. But I did like the tidbit of Ortiz throwing a little bit of shade at MJF. And we got that Sammy Guevara is probably on his way out of the Inner Circle. I think that whole segment was basically just that. That MJF is still blowing smoke up their ass, talking about how much he loves the group and he wants to be a part of the best faction and all that bullshit. But basically just Sammy Guevara is going to be on his way out of the Inner Circle. You know, so I'm cool with that. You know, it was a little too long, a little too much comedy, but whatever. So FTR does a promo, and once again, Dash Wilder accepts responsibility for losing the tag team titles, and Tully said, no. You don't take responsibility for that. I should have been out there. I wasn't out there. We're invincible together. You know, a member of the team wasn't out there. You know, we're invincible together. Next time we'll get them. And then Dash Harwood went on about race cars or trucks or something. I didn't get it because I'm not like a bumpkin and care about cars. Okay, so but I did understand that he's like, oh, we're the baddest tag team in AEW. So I did understand that. So I like this promo. Dax Harwood is really good at promos. He's really good. Like you can feel his shit. You know, like I don't fully understand the metaphor that he was going with, the allegory that he was going with there, but I felt the intensity and it made sense afterwards. After it was over, I was like, okay, you know, just because you put blank on blank doesn't mean it's blank. Okay, you can take out cars and, you know, repress that with anything else. So then the next match, Eddie Kingston, the Butcher and the Blade versus Phoenix, Penta El Zero M, and Lance Archer. My first question to this is, where was Pac? And why is Lance Archer a babyface? That's the first two things I wrote down. Second thing I wrote down is, why the fuck did Lance Archer have to tell the production staff to get out of the way so he can run down the ramp? And as he's running down the ramp, it's a short ramp, by the way, Eddie Kingston and his boys had to get in position to take this crossbody because they were on the other side of the fucking ring. So they had to come and move into position as Lance Archer is telling the production staff to move. And I just said to myself, it's going to be that kind of match, isn't it? And it was. Butcher put Penta through a table. He was carried out. That was interesting. They left the match to be 3-on-2. And then Penta, Phoenix was pinned by Butcher and the Blade when they hit their finish on him. So Lance Archer attacks them after the match. He wasn't done with Eddie Kingston or Butcher and the Blade. Jake Roberts just stood there. I guess Jake Roberts is a babyface now. I don't know. Nobody knows. I don't know if commentary tried to explain it. I really just tuned out a lot of the stuff because it was coming at me so fast. But I don't like this Lance Archer as a babyface thing. It's weird. It's weird and it's really unexplained. And I don't understand why Pac wasn't in this match. Was he like not in the country? If you know why Pac wasn't in this match, please let me know in the comment section below. Or was it just an oversight? That Eddie Kingston wanted to fight Lance Archer, so they just put Lance Archer in this match. Why was Pac not there? So the next segment, Red Velvet gets beaten up by Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill. And Serena Deeb comes out with a steel chair to break this all up. Well, she didn't have a steel chair, I'm sorry. Nyla Rose had the steel chair. Serena Deeb came out to break up this heinous act, and along with Big Swole, who was always there. And then Ivelisse and Diamante showed up, and they all got into a shoving match. And it took me to watch this scene. I literally had to watch this scene 3 times to figure out whose side Diamante and Ivelisse were on, because I was trying to figure out who was in the scene first. I see Vicky, I see Jade Cargill. There's other people there. Red Velvet's on the ground. I didn't even see Big Swole at first. I just saw Serena Deeb. So I'm just like, what is going on? I had to rewind it. I'm like, okay, I had to. And then because Diamante and Ivelisse came up behind Serena Deeb and Big Swole, they didn't come on the side of the heels. They came on behind the baby faces. I thought they were baby faces. For a minute, I wrote down like, Ivelisse and Diamante, what are they doing? And then I still wrote down what are they doing, because I still don't know what the fuck they're doing. I don't know why anybody is aligning themselves with Jade Cargill. Now, Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero, it kind of makes sense because Vicky Guerrero has been feuding with Brandy. But has Ivelisse and Diamante been feuding with Brandy? I don't know. Now, I do know that Red Velvet is Brandy's protege, friend. I don't know how that works. All I know is Red Velvet is cute. Ooh. I do like that girl. I like that girl. I like her. She's cute. And I don't mind that Jade Cargill targeted her. It makes sense. You've already taken out Brandy. Now you're taking out Brandy's friend. Yes, it is another person jumped backstage, but that's the wrestling they grew up on. There's always somebody fighting in the kitchen, somebody fighting in the hallway, somebody fighting in the dressing rooms. These are dangerous places. It's like NXT's parking lot. There's always going to be a fight. I just accepted it. It's one of those things where I just don't care. I don't care if there's always somebody getting jumped in the back. So what? It is what it is, man. Jade Cargill was wearing like a fur coat though, which was really weird, and it seemed real out of place because Nyla Rose is wearing a leather jacket. So I'm like, are you upscale or are you street punks? What is going on here? But I want to know why Diamante and Ivelisse even care about this. You don't have to explain baby faces. Baby faces are explained by right thing to do. Baby faces do the right thing. Serena Deeb, Big Swole, they show up. They see something they don't like. They step in. They baby faces, it's the right thing to do. But heels, you have to explain why a heel cares enough to participate in this shit. What's in it for Ivelisse and Diamante? You kind of have to explain a heel's motivation. I'm talking about in situations like this, of course, not all the time. It's not like you can write a story and not know why the babyface wants to save the world. It has to be a reason, or wants to defeat the hero. It has to be a reason. But in this situation, just like in the next situation, it's just the right thing to do. So the next situation is Abaddon versus Tesha Price. It's a very short, effective squash match for Abaddon. I think she took one move. She beat her in 2 minutes. She beat Tesha Price in 2 minutes with, I think, a gory bomb. I think it was a gory special. It's one of the two. I think it's the gory bomb, they called it. But Abaddon is kind of chunky. She's real chunky. Anyway, she continued to attack Tesha after the match. And then here comes Hikaru Shida. She comes out to do the heroic thing of saving the babyface, who was getting beaten up by this vicious monster girl heel. I like the monster girl wrestlers, the Su Youngs, the Rosemarys, the Abaddons. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's something that people can really get into if you give it enough time and enough energy. Because I think people really attach themselves to the Alexa Bliss sort of switch. But I think that, people can really get into the Monster Girl thing. So Hikaru Shida finally stands up like a hero. She comes down to the ring with her kendo stick. It's perfectly fine for her to have a kendo stick. And she's trying to back Abaddon down. Abaddon's not, intimidated in the least. She whacks Abaddon across the head with the kendo stick, knocks her clean the fuck out, which is the right thing to do. She knocked her clean the fuck out and collected Tesha. Basically, she pulled the cat from the treetop, and then Abaddon sat up, as she was supposed to do, to show that she wasn't really all that harmed by this. And I was like, okay, cool. We got rid of Hikaru Shida being a cowardly lion. She's now at least going back to the right direction of being a good, solid hero. So I like that. Jericho then said that Jericho's next segment said the Inner Circle will be at ringside for MJF's match. I don't know why he had a promo for that. He could have just did it. So then we get Kenny Omega and all the Kenny Omega stuff, a lot of which was the same shit he said on Impact. A lot of this, Don Callis' part was a lot of the same shit he said on Impact. But then we get Kenny Omega coming in on a helicopter, which begs the question, where the hell was the bus? He had a bus before. Now he's coming in on a helicopter. Like, that's weird. That's weird. Okay, whatever. So, Don Callis talked about how, Tony Khan welcomed him into his business and welcomed him into his house, treated him like an honored guest, and then he screwed him. And he says, welcome to the wrestling business. That was really good. That was a really good line. So, of course, he said he's been planning this for years. He's been watching Kenny Omega for years. They can't steal the AEW title because they created it. There's a lot of the same promo content that was there from Impact. So Kenny Omega's promo was mostly different, and it was just as bad as always. Kenny Omega can't talk. Why not just let Don Callis talk for him? Please just let Don Callis talk. You kill his mystique every time he opens his mouth. And I don't know. Some people say, well, he shouldn't have mystique. It's like, look, a lot of people have noticed that Don Callis is essentially the Paul Heyman to Kenny Omega's Brock or Roman or Curtis Axel, whatever. But he's essentially his advocate. He's his invisible hand, the guy who's been guiding his career. Just let Don Callis talk. Let Don Callis talk. So, because Kenny Omega starts talking about, he never begged anybody to bring his family in. He didn't beg Tony Khan for a payday for his family or friends like other people. He didn't specify, but we see what happened. He says that, last week was fine arts. It was a masterpiece and everybody bought into it. And I'm like, bought into what? Bought into what? Was it you getting your head drove into the heating lamps? That was part of your plan? John Moxley's going to run my head into the concrete floor. That's part of our plan. That's a stupid ass plan. That's the stupidest plan in the world. He's going to drop me on my head multiple times. That's an awesome part of the plan. That's stupid. It's a stupid part of the plan. But he says he doesn't care if anybody fell for it as long as John Moxley fell for it. And John Moxley did fall for it. And he took his sunglasses off to show this shiner that he got from John Moxley. He says that Moxley brought it all. Moxley does everything. Moxley's a tough guy, yada, yada, yada. A bunch of nothing. Then he says that there's more. If you think this is all, there's more stuff coming. And Don Callis was like, no. You got to sign off. You can't sign off. They're not ready. They're not ready yet. So then Kenny Omega does his silly bang stuff. And, Don Callis says, some people make matches. Other people make money. Kenny Omega makes history. And I like that. I like that sign. I like that. That's good. Kenny Omega went on to talk about 7-star classic matches and all that shit. We didn't need that. Tell him to shut the fuck up, turn his mic off, and just stand there and let Don Callis put you over. that's the strongest possible way of presenting Kenny Omega right now. Let Don Callis talk. He's good at talking. Let him talk. Fuck. Kenny Omega's not good at talking. So, the main event, MJF versus Orange Cassidy for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Now, it was not specified whether they had to wrestle for the same ring or whether it was a new ring. But I think it was supposed to be the same ring, because I think they said MJF retained the ring, similar to a championship that he could have lost it. But this match was okay. MJF is very traditional in heeldom. He does everything good, nothing great, everything good. He still has room to grow. He worked the hand and fist to nullify, the orange punch. He worked the hand. He put his hand in between the turnbuckle thing and, squeezed. He stomped his hands a bunch of times. The Inner Circle was out there. They outnumbered the Best Friends, so they were cheating, which was good. A team of baby faces came out to help, which was also good, even though it was the Varsity Blondes and Brandon Cutler. It's like, ugh, what a crap group. And it just became a lumberjack match, essentially. There was a lot of confusion, a lot of fighting going on outside the ring. Then the failed Eddie. This kind of miffed me. Jericho has a bat. MJF gets the bat. The referee is distracted. MJF bangs the mat with the bat, tosses the bat to Orange Cassidy, who doesn't catch it, who lets the bat fall in the ring. MJF flops. Orange Cassidy puts his hands in his pockets. Then he lays down. Then MJF gets up. He picks up the bat and is going to hit Orange Cassidy with the bat. Then the ref turns around, sees MJF with the bat, snatches the bat, throws the bat out. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Okay? Get the fuck out of here. This is nonsense. It's nonsense, man. Never do a failed Eddie. Don't do that. If you're going to do an Eddie, it needs to work. Or at least it needs to lead to a roll-up or something. And I think Orange Cassidy was supposed to put his hands in his pockets in order to prevent himself from catching it. But he basically tossed it and then dropped as he tossed it. And once the bat had already fallen to the ring, Orange Cassidy put his hands in his pockets. So it was weird. It was real weird. And it led nowhere. It was nothing. The finish came with Miro. As everybody brawled outside the ring, Miro jumped into the ring, gave a vicious lariat to Orange Cassidy, which allowed MJF to pin, and MJF, quote-unquote, retained the Dynamite Diamond Ring. So then after the match, Miro, Kip Sabian, Best Friends all get into a scrum. They get separated by security. And then Miro goes, he chimps out. He beats up the security production team. He threw a guy off a stage. He kicked some dude onto the moon because he barely kicked this guy and he flew halfway across the building. There was some other stuff that was kind of like that too. They basically tried to show us that Miro was a sawed-off badass, but of course, if he was that sawed-off badass, he would have been in the match and not interfering on the outside. But they tried. They tried to do something with Miro this week. He was the conquering hero as the show went off the air. They were playing his music and his fist was in the air. And even though he didn't wrestle or win a match, he looked impressive, I guess. So, whatever. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. Miro has been nothing but a disappointment. And they've just been doing a lot of things to distract people. AEW has been distracting people by just throwing random shit at you. Like a lot of people have completely forgotten that Cody wanted to fight MJF. And they disappeared. And the Shaq thing was covered up by Sting, which of course covered up that they weren't booking Miro or Matt Hardy correctly, that they haven't been booking Ricky Starks or Brian Cage correctly, that they're not doing the right thing with Brian Pillman Jr., that they're not doing the right thing with FTR, they're not doing the right thing with all these people, but they have enough distraction, enough smoke and mirrors going on that you're not paying attention all the time. You know, it's like you see the bullshit, you see it, but then they'll bring out some surprise, and you be talking about the surprise all the time. Oh, Kenny Omega was on Impact. Let's talk about that, and not the fact that Brody Lee ain't been there in 2 months, or when he was there, he was losing, or the fact that Miro is not doing anything and hasn't been doing anything for a long time, or that Matt Hardy has suddenly become a heel for no reason, a completely unexplained reason. It's not good. It's not good stuff, man. But that's kind of how they treating people, like pets. You have this short attention span. And usually people claim WWE does that. But of course, AEW get away with it. Ask people why Cody is no longer involved in this Shaq storyline. Even though it started with him in the ring. Why is he no longer involved? That he's no longer talking about it or even interested in it. I don't know. Well, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong about something. Feel free to correct me if I'm incorrect about something. Send me $1. The $1 challenge is always on. I appreciate that. Appreciate any tips. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for your support thus far, and I'll talk to you guys later.